Hello everyone, I welcome you all for the course Engineering Metrology. So this is the first lecture on the topic of acceptance tests for the machine tools. So the contents of the today's topic are recalling of the surface roughness, and then we will provide the introduction to the alignment tests, and then we will explain the alignment tests, and then equipment used for the alignment tests, and alignment tests on the lathe machine will explain, and then we will summarize the today's topic contents. So in the surface roughness, so we understood that, so whatever may be the manufacturing process used, so it is not possible to produce a component with a perfectly smooth surface. That is, a geometrically ideal surface cannot be generated. So this is due to some imperfections and irregularities which are bound to occur. So the manufactured surface always departs from the absolute perfection, that is from the ideal form to some extent as vertical deviations of a measured surface. So the irregularities on the surface are in the form of succession of hills and valleys by varying its height and spacing. So these irregularities are usually termed as the surface roughness. So this surface roughness is due to cutting tool marks, grit of grinding wheel, right? And also termed as a surface finish, surface texture, or surface quality. So the surface texture affects the various properties such as aesthetic appearance of the product, corrosion resistant will affect, wear resistance will affect, fatigue resistance, lubrication, initial tolerance, ability to hold the pressure, and load carrying capacity, noise reduction in case of gears, etc. So these are influenced by the surface texture. So there are various factors that affects the surface roughness. One is vibrations will affect, material of the workpiece affects, type of machining, and the rigidity of the system, that is the rigidity of the machine tool, rigidity of the fixture, rigidity of the cutting tool, and the rigidity of the workpiece will affect the surface roughness. And the type of cutting tool material, right? And the form of the cutting tool, and the material of the cutting tool, and the sharpness of the cutting tool also affects. And the surface conditions like speed, feed, depth of cut, and the type of coolant used. So all these factors affects the surface roughness. And also we understood what are the reasons for controlling the surface texture. So to improve the surface life of the components and improve the fatigue resistance, reduce the initial wear of the parts, and to maintain the close dimensional tolerance on the parts, and to reduce the frictional wear, reduce the corrosion by minimizing the depth of the irregularities. So if the depth of the irregularities are more, so what happens? The more area will corrode. If the depth of the irregularity is less, and the less area will corrode. So by minimizing the surface roughness, we can minimize the corrosion and good appearance. Suppose if the surface is not smooth enough, what happens? So the moving parts can heat up, blind, and freeze. So excessive surface roughness on the shafts and the bearings. So let us say in electrical household applications, they require more power for the operation. And then we understood the order of geometrical irregularities. So in that we understood 4 types of geometrical irregularities. 4 types of geometrical irregularities. First order geometrical irregularities, These are the irregularities caused by the inaccuracies in the machine tool itself. So for example, error rate, lack of straightness in the guide ways. Similarly, the deformation of the workpiece due to the cutting force. Similarly, due to self weight of the material itself, right, deformation takes place or deflection takes place. So this causes the first order irregularities. The second order irregularities caused due to vibrations of any kind, scatter marks, chatter marks, right? Chatter marks on the workpiece causes the second order irregularities. And the third order irregularities are caused by the machining due to characteristics of the process, like due to imperfect speed, feed, depth of cut causes the third order irregularities. And the fourth order irregularities are caused by the rupture of the material during the separation of the chip. And then we understood what is sampling length. It is the length of the profile necessary for the evaluation of the irregularities to be taken into account. So this sampling length is also known as cutoff length. Lay, right? It is the direction of a predominant surface pattern produced by tool marks or scratches. So it is determined by the method of production used. So there are three different methods of evaluating the primary texture or surface roughness. So one is peak to valley height method. Another one is the average roughness method. So the average roughness is calculated by using the, again we have the three methods: central line average method, and then root mean square method, and then 10-point height average method. 10-point height average method. So this is RZ, and the form factor or bearing curve. So based on the form factor value, so we can assess what is the roughness value. So the average surface roughness is assessed by three statistical criteria. One is a central line average method, root mean square method, and a 10-point height method. And the peak to valley height method measures the maximum depth of surface irregularities over a given sample length, and the largest value of the depth is accepted as a measure of roughness. The drawback of this method is that it may read the same H maximum value for two largely different textures. So central line average method is defined as the average value of the ordinates from the mean line, regardless of the arithmetic sign of the ordinates. So let us, we have the profile like this. So this is the mean line. So we'll consider only the magnitude. We will neglect the sign of the ordinates. Root mean square method is defined as the square root of arithmetic mean of values of square of ordinates of the surfaces measured from the mean line. So this RQ value is calculated as sigma HI square divided by n under root, whereas RA value is calculated as sigma HI by n. Next, 10-point height method. In this method, the average difference between 5 highest peak points and the 5 lowest valley points of surface texture within sampling length measured from a line parallel to mean line and not crossing the profile is used to denote the amount of surface roughness. And we understood what is form factor. So form factor is the ratio of area of the metal to the area of the enveloping rectangle. Suppose if this form factor K, right? If we get exactly a rectangle without any surface irregularities, that means the surface finish is very high. If the rectangular is so if we get exactly rectangle, that means the surface finish is very high. Suppose if the rectangular part is partly filled by some irregularities, that means the surface finish is poor. So numerically, we can say that if K is greater than 0.8, so it indicates a high surface finish. And if K is less than 0.8, that means it indicates the low surface finish. And then we understood what is bearing curve. So it is determined by adding the lengths A, B, C, etc. at depths X, Y, Z, etc. below the reference line, and indicates the percentage bearing area, so which becomes available as the crest area worn away. So the methods used for ensuring surface finish can be classified broadly into two groups: inspection by comparison and direct instrument measurement. So inspection by comparison methods, in that we have the 8 methods: visual inspection, touch inspection, scratch inspection, microscopic inspection, surface photographs, micro interferometer, Wallace surface dynamometer, reflected light intensity. And the main advantage of the stylus type instruments we have seen in that the electrical signal available that can be processed to obtain any desired surface roughness parameter, or can be recorded for display, or can be used for subsequent analysis. Therefore, the stylus type instruments are widely used for surface texture measurements, in spite of having many disadvantages also. The stylus probe instruments are currently used for surface finish measurement. One is a profilometer, the Tomlinson surface meter, Taylor-Hobson tally-surf, and a profilograph. So profilometer is an indicating and recording instrument used to measure the roughness in microns. The Tomlinson surface meter consists of a diamond probe that is held by spring pressure against the surface of a lapped steel cylinder and is attached to the body of the instrument by leaf spring. The lapped cylinder is supported on one side by the probe, and on the other side by fixed rollers. A light spring steel arm is attached to the lapped cylinder, and it carries at its tip a diamond scriber, so which rests against a smoked glass. The motions of the stylus in all the directions except the vertical one are prevented by the forces exerted by the two springs. And Taylor-Hobson or tally-surf is a stylus and a skid type of instrument working on a carrier modulating principle. So its response is more rapid and accurate as compared to Tomlinson surface meter. And the measuring head of this instrument consists of a sharply pointed diamond stylus of about 0.002 mm tip radius, and a skid or shoe which is drawn across the surface by means of a motorized driving unit. And then we understood how the profilogram works. It will be obtained from the sensitized film. So that may be subsequently analyzed to determine the value of the surface roughness. Coming to the today's lecture, so the quality and accuracy of the finished work depends upon the accuracy of the machine tools used for producing the products. So the machine tool must be able to produce the workpieces to the given accuracy within the prescribed limits consistently. So for these reasons, the machine tools are tested at various stages, that is during the assembly stage, during after assembly stage, and after erection, after overhauls. The machine tools are tested for its accuracy as per the accuracy test chart in order to determine whether it meets the requirement of specification or not. So the acceptance test of machine tool includes alignment test or geometrical tests, performance test or practical test. So the alignment test is carried out to check the grade of manufacturing accuracy of the machine tool. So it consists of checking the relationship between the various machine elements, like relationship with the bed, relationship with the table, and relationship with the spindle, etc. When the machine tool is in idle and unloaded condition, so these alignment tests will be conducted. That means the static condition, the alignment tests are carried. Performance test consists of checking the accuracy of the finished components. That is also known as the practical test. The performance test consists of preparing the actual test jobs on the machine and checking the accuracy of the jobs produced. So these tests are carried out to know whether the machine tool is capable of producing the parts within the specified limits or not. So alignment or geometrical tests, the various alignment tests checks generally carried out on machine tools. So these are the following tests generally we will conduct on the machine tool. One is straightness of guideways we can check, and slideways also we can check for its accuracy, and flatness of the machine tables and slideways, parallelism, equidistance, and alignment of the slideways and axis of various moving parts with reference to some standard planes. And then I will check the true running and alignment of shafts and spindle relative to other areas and surfaces. And then we will check the pitch errors or lead of the lead screw errors, and pitch errors of gears we can also check, and errors in the dividing heads or indexing devices we can check for its accuracy. And then we can also check the eccentricity, out of roundness, periodical, axial slip, camming, etc. So in this alignment test, the main spindle is the fundamental element of the machine tool and is tested for eccentricity, axial slip, accuracy of axis and position relative to the other axes and surfaces. The equipments required for geometrical tests are dial gauges, test manuals are required, straight edges and squares are required, spirit levels or autocollimator is required, waviness meter, sometimes it is required. Coming to the alignment test for the lathe. The first test for on the lathe is the test for level of installation. So this is the first and foremost test that is to be conducted or conducted on the lathe machine while installing. So the machine should be checked for accuracy of leveling. The machine should be installed such that the lathe bed is truly horizontal. So in order to check this truly horizontal position of the bed, a high sensitive spirit level or clinometer can be used to verify the leveling of the machine. So if the spirit level is moved over the designated distance specified in the test chart and the deviation is noted. So here the test is carried out in both the longitudinal and transverse directions. So here the position of the spirit level, which is placed in the direction of the longitudinal direction. So we place the spirit level at different locations, and then we will see what is the variation in the right leveling. So the positioning of the spirit level and the guideway is given in this figure. So the maximum permissible error in the front guideways 0.02 mm per meter, and in the rear guideways it is 0.01 to 0.02. So here it is 0.02 mm. And also we can place these spirit levels in the crosswise direction in this direction. So and the error we will observe So 0 plus or minus 0.02. So this is the position of the spirit level. Position of the spirit level on the guideways. So the error in level may be corrected by setting wedges at suitable points under the support. Second test is straightness of saddle in horizontal plane. So the measuring instruments required are a cylindrical test mandrel of 600 mm long. So this is the cylindrical test mandrel of 600 mm long. And a dial indicator is required. How to conduct this test? So the mandrel is held between the centers. So these are the live center and this is the dead center. So the mandrel is held between the two centers. So the dial indicator is mounted on the saddle. So dial indicator is mounted on the saddle. That is a stand of the dial indicator is mounted on the saddle. The spindle of the dial indicator is allowed to touch the mandrel. So this will be conducted in the vertical plane. So the saddle is then moved longitudinally along the length of the mandrel. So this is the saddle. This will be moved along the length of the mandrel. So readings are taken at different places and the permissible error is only 0.02 mm over the length of the mandrel. If it is more than 0.02 mm, that indicates error is considerable and that will affect the dimensional accuracy of the produced products. Another test is alignment of both the centers in vertical plane. So besides testing the parallelism of the axis individually, it is necessary to check the relative position of the axis also. So both the axes may be parallel to the carriage moment, but they may not coinciding. So when the job is fitted between the centers, the axis of the job will not be parallel to the carriage moment. So this test will be conducted only in vertical plane. So here the mandrel is fixed between the two centers, that is headstock center and the dead center, the tailstock center. So mandrel is fitted between the two centers and the dial gauge is mounted on the carriage. So this is the carriage. Dial gauge is mounted on the carriage and the feeler of the dial gauge is made to touch the top of the top of the cylindrical mandrel. Then the carriage is moved. Carriage is moved. So if there is any deviation is observed on the dial indicator, so that will shows the error in alignment of both the centers. And the maximum permissible error is 0.02 mm over 600 mm length of the mandrel. Another test is true running of the taper socket in main spindle. So in case of the axis of the tapered hole of the socket is not concentric with the main spindle axis, eccentric and tapered jobs will be produced. That is the effect of this error. To test this, a mandrel is fitted into the tapered hole of the main spindle and readings will be taken at two different places. That is location 1 and the location 2. So this is the mandrel which is fitted in the hole of the spindle and here the spindle is rotated for one complete revolution. So at location 1, what is the error? And location 2, what is the error? So the maximum permissible error is 0.01 mm at location 1 and the maximum permissible error is at location 2 is 0.02 mm. Another test is parallelism of main spindle to saddle movement. So parallelism of the spindle is crucial for generating the accurate dimensions. So any error in parallelism of the spindle, main spindle, that will result in a tapered surface after machining. So in order to test this parallelism, we require a test manual. So here the test manual is fitted into the main spindle bore, and dial gauge readings are taken over the specified length. So here we take the two readings. One is in the horizontal plane and the another one is in the vertical plane. So it is important to see that excess overhang of the mandrel does not result in a sag due to its own weight. So here the dial indicator is mounted on the carriage, and then the feeler of the dial indicator is made to contact on the top of the mandrel, and that is in vertical plane. Similarly, in the horizontal plane, right? So this is the position of the dial indicator. So both in horizontal plane and the vertical plane, we will check. So the maximum permissible error is in the horizontal plane it is 0.0, vertical plane it is 0.02 mm, and also in the horizontal plane also 0.02 mm. For 300 mm length mandrel. Another test is the moment of the upper slide parallel with the main spindle in vertical plane. So this test is conducted only in vertical plane. So for conducting this, we require a test mandrel and a dial indicator. So the test mandrel with a taper shank and a 300 mm long cylindrical measuring part and a dial gauge is required. So this test mandrel is fitted into the spindle of the main bore of the main spindle, and the dial gauge is clamped to the upper slide, and the slide is transversed along with a dial gauge plunger on the top of the stationary mandrel. So here the mandrel is in stationary position. The dial gauge is mounted on the saddle, that is on the upper slide, and the upper slide is moved because it is a movement of the upper slide. So we need to check the upper slide parallel with the main spindle. So the dial gauge is mounted on the upper slide, and then the upper slide is moved so towards the headstock center and away from the headstock center. And the maximum permissible error is 0.02 mm over the total moment of the slide. Another test is true running of the locating cylinder of the main spindle. So here the main spindle while running should not have any play or radial deviations from its axis. So this test is conducted with the test manual of acceptable quality, and also we require a dial indicator. So the manual is fitted to the spindle bore, and the dial indicator feeler is made to contact on the top surface of the cylindrical mandrel. So the spindle is gently rotated by hand, and the deviations of the dial indicator are noted. So the dial indicator base is mounted on the carriage here. The deviations should be within the permissible limits. The maximum error is 0.01 mm is allowed. Another test is true running of the headstock center. So here the headstock center is also called the live center of the machine. So if it is not true, what happens? The accuracy of the workpiece will suffer. So in order to test this, the workpiece will develop eccentricity if the error is too much. For conducting this test, we require a dial indicator. So this is mounted on the carriage, and we have the live center. We have the conical, slant face or tapered surface of the center, and the dial indicator feeler is made to touch the tapered surface of the center such that it the tapered surface and the feeler of the dial indicator at right angles to each other. The spindle is rotated. In this case, the spindle is rotated for one complete revolution. So the deviation will be observed on the dial indicator. The deviation indicates the trueness of the headstock center. Another test is parallelism of tailstock sleeve to saddle moment. So here the saddle is moved. Saddle is moved. So we are checking the parallelism of the tailstock sleeve. So both in horizontal plane and the vertical plane. So A represents the vertical plane and B is the horizontal plane. So if the tailstock sleeve is not parallel to the saddle movement, what happens? The height of the dead center would vary as varying lengths of sleeves are taken out. So for the jobs held between two centers, so it is necessary that the central axis of the dead center be coaxial with the job axis in both the planes. That is the horizontal plane and the vertical plane. If it is not so, what happens? The job may be tilted up or down or in sideways due to the support of the dead center. So how to conduct this parallelism of tailstock sleeve to saddle movement is, so tailstock sleeve is fed forward. Tailstock sleeve is fed forward by rotating the hand wheel of the tailstock. The dial gauge is mounted on the saddle. The dial gauge is mounted on the saddle. Its spindle is touched to the sleeve at one end and the saddle is moved to and fro. So the saddle is moved to and fro. So it is checked both in the horizontal plane and the vertical plane. So the variation will be observed on the dial indicator. So the maximum permissible error in the vertical plane is 0.01 mm for 100 mm length of travel of the saddle. Similarly, in vertical horizontal plane also it is 0.01 mm. Next, another test is parallelism of tailstock sleeve taper socket to saddle movement. So here also saddle is moved. This will be connected in both the horizontal plane and the vertical plane. So for conducting this, we require a test manual with a tapered shank and the cylindrical measuring part of 300 mm length, and we require a dial gauge. So how to conduct this test? So test manual is held with its taper shank in tailstock sleeve taper socket. So the dial gauge is mounted on the saddle. Dial gauge is mounted on the saddle. The dial gauge spindle is made to touch it with the mandrel. The saddle is then traversed longitudinally along the bedways. So and the readings are noted both in vertical plane and the horizontal plane. And the maximum error allowed is both in horizontal plane and the vertical plane is 0.03 mm for the traversing length of 300 mm of the saddle. So this is about the today's class. Now we will summarize the today's topic contents. So the quality and accuracy of the finished work depends on the accuracy of the machine tools used in their production. So the machine tools must be able to produce workpieces of given accuracy within prescribed limits consistently. So for this reason, the machine tools are tested at various stages during the assembly, after assembly, erection, repairs or overhauls as per the accuracy test chart. So in order to determine whether the machine meets the requirements of specifications or not. So alignment test for the lathe, in that we have explained the various types of tests. The first test is test for level of installation. Second test is straightness of saddle in horizontal plane, alignment of both the centers in vertical plane, true running of taper socket in main spindle, parallelism of main spindle to saddle movement, movement of upper slide parallel with the main spindle in vertical plane, true running of locating cylinder of main spindle, true running of headstock center, parallelism of tailstock sleeve to saddle movement, and a parallelism of tailstock, sleeve taper socket to saddle movement. So these are the various types of tests we can conduct on the lathe machine for checking the alignments. So these are the references we have gone through for preparing this PPT.